Now, you might have seen our interview with Paul Early, the Roscommon legend, earlier on this week. He was drumming up support and awareness for their 2020 All-Ireland Cycle. Check out allirelandcycle.ie. The race is underway with over 800 people having signed up already. They had big targets. They wanted 1,000 people to cycle 100,000 kilometres in 10 days and raise 100 grand. Already, they're very close to getting 1,000 registrations. 150,000 kilometres have already been cycled, and that are at about 60 grand raised. So they just need to get a little bit more in the last few days of this to hit their target. And it's all in aid of the National Breast Cancer Research Institute. And the challenge is for you out there is to cycle 200 kilometres between Friday the 28th of August and Sunday, September the 6th. You can register at any point up until the last day, and everything you've done over the last couple of weeks will count for this. And apparently some counties are much better than others at this. Waterford are leading the way, but apparently Louth, Meath, Kildare and Roscommon are all hot on their heels. Tip and Dublin not doing so well. So if you are in Tip or Dublin, now would be a great time to get involved. Check out their Facebook page, All Ireland Cycle. All the updates are going to be on it, and allirelandcycle.ie is the website to register on. They want 25 quid to sign up, and then you can raise more money if you want, and you can do more than the average of 20k a day for 10 days, and it's all for a really great cause. Some brilliant high-profile names involved: Michael Donlan, Sean O'Dupuer, Kevin O'Brien, Declan Brown, Colin O'Rourke, Senan Connell, Kieran Power, Eve McChrystal are all some of the well-known sports stars who have done the event. And one of our the other participants is our next guest is Evan Kelly, the former Meath footballer. Evan, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, lads. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good. You've been involved in this cycle.
Yeah, just out of the shower. 50k done this morning. Yeah, and we're at 550 for the week so far.
That's not bad. I mean, the target, I just read the target is 200. You're showing off, Evan.
Yeah, we're doing a bit of showboating there. Yeah, we decided, when they set the bar at 400, we try and double it. And at the moment, we've done 550 today, so we're quite happy with the progress there at the minute.
Showboating, you're from a notorious team of showboaters, of course, the Meath team of the late 90s.
Yeah, we didn't like to do anything by halves, all right. We always like to raise the bar and challenge ourselves, put a good bit of pressure on ourselves to deliver,
Evan, I wanted to ask you, before we get into the cycle and your involvement in it, about Sean Boylan in particular. The documentary recently, the love for Sean Boylan cascaded out of the country, like from the four corners and from beyond, because, obviously he's such a legendary figure. You had a bit of a roller coaster with Sean, is that fair to say?
I don't know if I call it a roller coaster. Sean Boylan is a fantastic man and a great person outside of football, as well as that's what he's done for the Meath people in general. But Sean is a gentleman, I suppose you could call it a roller coaster. I was there for 10 years, and it was ups and downs, high points, low points, but overall, fantastic experience and privileged to be involved with him and all the lads that I met along the way.
All's well that ends well. Obviously, you end up with an all-star at the end of the second All-Ireland that you win. But Sean's ruthlessness was also something that maybe, I wouldn't say it was glossed over in the documentary, but it wasn't addressed as much, because he wasn't afraid to make hard decisions at hard times, and you were at the end of one of those.
Yeah, well, I suppose any great manager is there's never going to be better roads all the way through your career. And in fairness to Sean wasn't afraid to make hard calls. He made loads of them. Back in the 80s, 87, 88, there was always tough decisions on positions for players. I suppose I was on the receiving end for the replay in 96. That's just football, that's the way it goes. Sean made a call, had to be done, took me aside, told me what was going to happen. And but having said that, he stayed with me for the next 2 years. And by 99, he had me fully installed again. And the rest is history, as the man said.
Well, I look, we can talk about this nice and calm and relaxed now, and there's no bitterness, because obviously you do end up having an absolutely amazing season in 99. Would you have been as good in 99 if you hadn't had that little pang of regret about not getting on the team for the replay?
Oh, well, there's no doubt about it. I did make a commitment to myself. I said, if this ever happens again, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to take the decision out of his hands. And I'm going to make sure if I ever get a chance to play in Ireland again, I'm going to grab it with both hands and make sure that he can't leave me off the team,
Is that just...
Evan, how does that conversation go down? I mean, Sean Boylan obviously approaches you. He wants to tell you, I presume, before the team is publicly named. But how does a conversation like that work when you're being told you've been dropped for a big game?
Well, I'll be honest with you probably know yourself after the draw match that you're under pressure. So generally the way things used to run those days, we'd be out kicking around in Dalga Park, and the selectors would be doing their thing. And if we were called over to the sideline for the one-on-one conversation, you kind of knew what what the outcome of that was going to be. And in fairness to Sean, you would have been the very first person to know. You wouldn't be hearing about it second hand off anybody else, or you wouldn't be hearing about it in the media, so to speak. You'd be the first person to be told. And from that point of view, you'd have to respect him from that. There'd be no going behind your back or nothing like that happening with Sean, you know.
So you knew full well when he was walking over to you then that you were getting dropped.
If you got the curly finger to go to the sideline to have the one-on-one conversation, you knew well that your jersey wasn't going to be yours for Sunday. But that's football, sure. All the great managers down through the years, and even the current managers, have to make hard calls and hard decisions. But as I said, he stuck by me for the next couple of years and gave me the chance to redeem myself, so to speak.
It's also, he's got such a great way of delivery where he always feels on the verge of laughing at some punchline that nobody else has heard. So I wonder if, like, even when he's giving you devastating news, he does it in such a nice way that you're like, okay, fair enough. Geez, I suppose he's right.
Yeah, well, Sean is such a nice person outside of football that, even a hard conversation with Sean, you come away from it feeling well. So there's some positive to be taken from it. Sean will probably always remind you of the good games you had prior to it, and that, listen, things just aren't working out at the moment, but you will come back again, and you go away from it feeling, while I might be playing Sunday, the chance is still there for me to get a run the next day or the game after. But he had a nice way of giving you bad news, all right, that's for sure.
That team then went on to have like some of the best games and be involved in some of the best games. The 3-game series against Kildare, they were a free scoring team. So being a forward in that and being a hard working half forward, what were your specific instructions? What was your role and what was your ambition in the team?
Well, back in the day, those days tactics weren't sort of as relevant as they are now. It was every man had to deliver in his own area, whether you were a corner forward or wing forward. And generally, the plan would be to get the ball up to the finishers, the Ollie Murphys, the Graham Geraghty's, Trevor Giles, these lads, get the ball up to them, and it was all out attack. There was no such thing as a short kick out those days. Pick up the breaking ball and get it into the forwards and try and get over the bar as many times as we can and as often as we can. That was it was fairly basic in Route 1 football, but it was effective enough at the time. Would
you have been marking Martin O'Connell in training a good bit then?
Yeah, you would have marked Martin O'Connell, Enda McManus, the wing backs, the Paddy Reynolds, these were. If you were able to go toe-to-toe Paddy Reynolds at training, by the time match came around, you were fit for anybody. There was lots of good Mark Riley's and Darren Fays and all these lads. If you were marking those in a training match, you knew all about it.
Every single one of them a beast.
Yeah, I've already left a few out there now. The Donald Perch, Donald Perch was a title man, Cormac Sullivan, Cormac Riley, all these lads. They were tough men to train, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'd say peaceful training sessions.
Yeah, peaceful training session behind closed doors, obviously, yeah.
And no cameras and no evidence except the bruises that you bear afterwards, physically and metaphorically.
It was all the mental scars you had to deal with afterwards. Yeah, there was no evidence really.
Come here, when did you realise that the team that you do win the All-Ireland on, and you have a very important role in that, when did you realise that team was going to be good enough to win an All-Ireland? Or did you kind of feel that every year you were good enough at that stage? Yeah, well, I don't even think, you've only said every year thinking that you're good enough to win it, but you do, is found out as the year wears on. Obviously, in those days, there was lots more, there was a straight knockout and you had more time between matches to address injuries and recuperate. I think in 99 we only played 5 matches and there was a month in between each game and you would have back played with club football. So it was just a different era, different times, and every match was taken on its own merits. You wouldn't look that far ahead either, but once obviously the main objective was to get Leinster, and once you get Leinster, depending which way the provincial draw went, you had a 50-50 chance of being in the final. And then obviously once you get to a final, sure, you're back to you have a good chance of winning. So there was only 5 games, I think, in 99, and we won them all. And I suppose a bit of luck along the way, and your form is obviously comes right at the right time. A lot of things have to line up for you, and I think a lot of luck comes into play too. Your form was obviously good the whole way through, otherwise you wouldn't even have been in contention to win an All-Star. So what do you put down the form from 99 being so good to? Well, I was very lucky at the time. In 98, I was playing with Drumree there. We won the Junior Championship, and we went on and won the Leinster Junior Championship, but that didn't finish up for Christmas. And then we were straight into the 99 season. The league would have been running through in the end of the year and started January, February. And, as I said, you're just glad to be in the mix, to be in the panel of 30 at training,
train as hard as you can, try and get on as many games as you can, try and play as many league matches as you can, try and get as many scores as you can, all that sort of stuff. And just hope to God that by the time May comes, that you're in the shout for a start in the first 15.
So you didn't have time to winter well because the club was going great guns in
I think the final was on the 4th of December. And so Christmas went very quickly, and then you're back. Sean Boylan had a set in January again, but I ran right through at a late season with the club, and that probably, when you look back on it, that was probably the catalyst that got me onto I'll be back in business with Meath and not having a downtime, I suppose, from September right through to January helped me in that respect, fitness wise and form wise.
And was there ever any point where Sean said to you, right, you're in the team now, you're one of my leaders, Evan, you've been through this before, I know I can trust you. Was it as expressed as bluntly as that, or was it always just kind of like, oh, sure, look, he's in the team, someone's going to have to take him out?
I don't think that there was actually ever a conversation down those lines, but the fact that you're getting the chance to play every day and every week sort of tells you its own story. Sean puts the faith in you, and obviously when someone puts the faith in you, you have to return it with twofold. So Sean mightn't come to you directly and say that, but the fact that you're playing and you're one of his 15 or 20 or whatever way it is, that's as close as a message you're going to get.
I suppose that's the other side of the man management, is when he lets you down, he's going to let you down gently, but everybody's kind of on edge the rest of the time because there's a competition for places.
Absolutely. We would have had A versus B games where he would have bring in other lads from around the county to keep us on our toes. And then you're conscious of, am I on the A team rather than am I on the B team? And if you're training hard, like Sean would have trained us very hard, and if you're training well, Sean would have done most of the training himself. It wouldn't be a case of he'd chop out the training and somebody else. He would do the training himself, so he'd monitor you when you'd be training, so he'd know what you were at and how you were going, and which all those things would lead into whether you're going to get a start or whether you're going to come on or whether you're going to be on the panel at all. There was massive competition to be on the panel in those days. The team was the holy grail. The panel was great too,
Who was better, Garrity or Giles?
Oh, no pressure in that one. Listen, it's very hard. It's very hard. Both players were fantastic, phenomenal players, for different reasons. There was no better man off a place ball than Trevor. No better man to cover ground than Graham. Where do you start or where do you end of that conversation? I was just delighted to be in the pitch at the same time as those lads, and we gelled and we got on well, and we got on very well off the pitch as well, which was a big help. There was no egos, no drama with us. We all really got on very well, and people would say that for the sake of talk's sake, but it was actually very true. We travelled the matches together, and we genuinely got on very well together, which was a big help.
Let me rephrase it then. Right, you're running through, you've made a clean break, you've got 3 or 4 yards on your man, there's a minute left in the game. Who do you want on the left wing to play the through ball to you, to be on the end of it, to score the winning goal? Who are you happiest with that has the ball in their hands at that point? Is it Garrity or Giles?
God, you're going to put me on the spot now. I suppose I think it was 2002 we played Loud in Crow Park, or in not Crow Park, in Navan, I think. Graham ended up on the end of the ball for one of those goals. But there was no better goal poacher either than the Graham. To be honest with you, Graham knew how to find the back of the net, that's for sure.
Evan, you're not giving me an answer here. I see what you're doing. We've been around this block a little while. Well, to be honest, the debate, we talked about the Mount Rushmore of Meath, and the debate came down. It was hard to pick between the two lads in the end, and it certainly divided opinion around the county. So you're saying both equals as far as you can make out?
Well, if I was fouled 30 yards out from goal, I'd be definitely giving the ball to Trevor. If I was on the edge of the square looking for someone to finish it, I'd be only passing to Graham. That's probably the way it is. That's as close you're going to get to an answer, I think.
Good teammates, for sure. Evan, you said you've cycled 450 kilometres. Is that right already?
Well, we cycled with myself and Dave McDonald here, a colleague of mine at work. We were working on a job up here in the dock, and we drive in every day. We commute about 50k each every day. So when the challenge was put down, we sort of said, sure, why don't we just try and cycle? We have been doing a bit of it, 1 or 2 days a week on and off. And then we said, sure, why don't we just try and do the 10 days and we see how we go. So at the moment we've done 5.5, which equates to 550 kilometres. We're going to cycle home this evening, which will bring us up to the 600 mark. So we're not doing too bad. The legs aren't too sore just yet.
No, that's great. And if anybody wants to get involved, allirelandcycle.ie is the website, or you can check out their Facebook page, and it's all in aid of the National Breast Cancer Research Institute. Evan, I know this is quite personal for you and for your family, and you've been involved with this for the last couple of years now.
Yes, back in 2010, Eamon Hurley gave me a shout to get involved, just to raise awareness and raise some money, obviously for breast cancer research, which is, you know, let's face it, every family in this country has been touched by it. Back in 2010, things were going really well. I'd done a lot of years up till 2 years ago when it landed on our doorstep, and my sister Alison, you know, succumbed to it. She fought a battle there for a number of years, and eventually lost the battle there 2 years ago. So it's been on our doorstep, and that's why I just said to myself, listen, I try and go the extra mile this year and do it in her memory, you know.
Yeah. And look, you're dead right. It is the type of thing that as soon as you start talking about it, people start telling you their own stories, and there's a massive willingness to get involved. And it's always difficult to share your story, but I think that in the act of doing it, it brings people together. And at this time, anything that's bringing people together is good.
Yes, and like Ireland's a different landscape than it has been for the last 100 years. And we just said this year we'd try and, for want of a better description, there's very little crack around there at the moment. So we just said we'd try and generate a bit of our own. Obviously, we can't come together to cycle, and I think, you know, Paul has really worked the oracle here this year and reinvented the tour. Last year, myself and Dave went on with a few other friends of mine. We had a fantastic 3 days event, and we stayed in hotels, and we had great fun in the lobbies, and we, you know, met lots of people. This year, for obvious reason with the COVID, that can't happen. But like, Paul has reinvented it, and I think, you know, I was talking to him last night. He told me the numbers. The numbers have been fantastic. I think he had 890 people registered at €25 a pop there yesterday. He had something like 220 odd thousand kilometres cycled, which equates to, like he said to me, 3 times around the world. And he's a league table set up for all the counties. Waterford out in front, Meath and Louder are renewing all rivalries there in second place. And, you know, we're already halfway through the week, and he's trying to, you know, and I'm by this phone call too, I'm trying to appeal to anybody out there that first of all wants to give me a hand cycle home from the dock this evening. And second of all, with good weather coming for the weekend, it's not too late to join. There's still plenty of room on the website there for people to commit to doing whatever distance they can, 5K, 10K, and obviously the €25 registration fee was all going to add up. And it's going to, I seen directly where the money went last year, to the research centre in Galway, and fantastic people doing fantastic work down there. And I think every chance we get, we should support these people, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Look, Evan, we wish you all the best and safe home this evening. I hope the rain, it's lashing here this morning. I hope it's not too bad for you this evening. I think the forecast's all right for tonight.
The rain only bounces off us. We're okay. We're not made of sugar.
Definitely not. Anybody who survives training against those lads. Evan, good stuff. Thanks a million, man. Cheers.
Very much, lads. Appreciate it.
It's Evan Kelly, allirelandcycle.ie, and you should check out the interview that we did with Paul Early last week to launch this. But as I've said, it's a very good cause, the National Breast Cancer Research Institute. And obviously there were updated figures that Evan was able to give us there in terms of the numbers who have participated already, and it's well worth your while getting involved in that.